So I would invite you to use the tools that you currently know how to use and do something creative. Make something, anything that you want, any design, any drawing, any. You got an interest in cars, you got an interest in transformers. I mean, AutoCAD is not really a tool that's well suited to drawing bowls of fruit or ponies in a field with trees around them, but for just making line drawings, uh, it's an awesome tool. And since you know how to move the endpoints of line segments and use the grips to reposition things, that gives you a little bit of control over what you're doing. We see circles also have grips. You can grab the center point grip and move your geometry around. You can also grab the grip at the quadrant here and then change the radius, larger or smaller. So I would say experiment, play around a little bit, draw something. You can use lines, you can use circles, and you know what? We'll even take a look at another tool or two. The arc tool creates a 3-point arc. I go click, click, and click. My first click was the start point. My second click was the midpoint. My third click was the end point. And of course, you could take these grips and you could reposition things. You could move your arc by grabbing the center point of it. You could change the radius by grabbing the midpoint. You could change the end point or start point locations by grabbing on them. So now you can draw lines, you can draw arcs, you can draw circles, and then we'll take a look at one more tool because maybe some of you have a much freer spirit than these perfect geometric shapes. If you click on the little black arrow next to the draw panel title, you'll see there are some drawing tools under here. And these are tools that are not as frequently used, so they're kind of hidden away. And if you want them, we'll click on that arrow. The tool I'm looking at is this first tool. It's called Spline. So a spline is a non-circular curve, and every time I click, I'm giving that curve some definition. When I hit enter, I've got this crazy, twisty, freeform shape that looks like your appendix, right? So now every click I did, though, every time I clicked, gave me a grip to work with. And then you can go in after, and you can actually tweak this thing around a little bit. So you get the curves looking exactly perfectly the way you want them to. Okay, so play around for a minute with the 3-point arc, start point, midpoint, end point. Play around for a minute with the spline tool. See how they work. And why don't you make something creative using the line tool, circle tool, arc tool, and spline. And of course, if you're not happy with what you did, go back in there and erase whatever you don't want. If you want to adjust, that's what grips are for. You can adjust the lines, the circles, the arcs, and the splines. And let's save this when we're done. Let's give this a name. We're going to save this as exercise 2. Exercise 2.